Part 1. Fundamental Principles that will change your life. Let us drift into the timeless principle tools that enable people to grow their wealth. Close your eyes and breathe deeply as we explore the financial wisdom that emerged from human experience with money. The first principle that transformed lives was beautifully simple. Pay yourself first. This concept, popularized in the early 20th century, but in practice it wasn't about deprivation. It was about making saving automatic and non-negotiable. This single habit created more millionaires from ordinary incomes than perhaps any other financial practice. Informally for generations, meant that before paying any bills or making any purchases, you set aside money for savings. A factory worker in the 1920s who saved 10% of each paycheck before doing anything else found that living on the remaining 90% became natural. This was discipline. Consider the power of compound interest, which Albert Einstein allegedly called the eighth wonder of the world. When Benjamin Franklin died in 1790, he left small sums to Boston and Philadelphia with instructions that they could not be fully spent for 200 years. When the trust finally matured, those modest amounts had grown to millions. This demonstrated something profound. Given enough time, even small amounts of money can become substantial wealth. A young worker who invests just $50 per month from age 25 to retirement at 65, earning average market returns, could accumulate hundreds of thousands of dollars. Time, more than the amount invested, determines wealth. Let yourself drift to the principle of diversification, an idea that became a formal investment in the 1950s, but that ordinary people had understood intuitively for centuries. The old saying, "Don't put all your eggs in one basket," contained profound financial truth. A farmer who grew only one crop risked everything on that crop's success. But farmers who grew wheat and corn and raised chickens and pigs, they could weather any single disaster. In modern investing, spreading money across different stocks, bonds, and assets meant that no single failure could destroy you. This principle allowed ordinary investors to take reasonable risks while protecting themselves from catastrophic losses. Now, rest on the concept of living below your means, a principle so simple yet so powerful. Throughout history, people who spent less than they earned, regardless of how much they earned, built security and wealth. A factory worker earning a modest salary who lived frugally could retire comfortably, while a doctor earning 10 times as much but spending it all lived in constant financial stress. The gap between earning and spending was where wealth lived. This wasn't about deprivation. It was about intentionality, about valuing future security over present consumption. In the mid-20th century, financial advisors began teaching the importance of an emergency fund, 3 to 6 months of expenses set aside in easily accessible savings. This wasn't a new idea. Prudent families had always kept something back for hard times. But formalizing it as a specific goal made it achievable. A service technician who methodically built their emergency fund discovered something liberating. They could handle a car repair, a medical bill, an unexpected expense without panic or debt. Financial emergencies stopped being catastrophes and became merely inconveniences. The peace of mind this brought was perhaps more valuable than the money itself. Let us breathe deeply and consider the power of budgeting, or simply knowing where your money goes. In the 1930s, home economics courses taught young people to track every penny. While that level of detail might seem extreme, the underlying principle was transformative. Awareness creates control. A young couple who tracked their spending for just 1 month often discovered they were spending hundreds of dollars on things they didn't value. Coffee shops, impulse purchases, subscriptions they'd forgotten. Money leaking away invisibly. Once visible, these leaks could be plugged and that money redirected toward goals that actually mattered. As we continue our peaceful journey, reflect on the principle of delayed gratification, studied extensively by psychologists but understood by successful savers throughout history. The famous marshmallow experiment showed that children who could wait 15 minutes for 2 marshmallows instead of eating one immediately grew up to be more successful in many ways. In financial terms, this meant choosing to save for a quality item rather than buying a cheap version immediately, or choosing to invest for retirement rather than spend on luxuries today. The ability to delay gratification, to choose future benefit over immediate pleasure, was perhaps the single strongest predictor of financial success. In the 1970s and 80s, consumer advocates began teaching people to distinguish between needs and wants. A need was shelter, a want was a house in a prestigious neighborhood. A need was transportation, a want was a luxury car. This distinction sounds obvious, but practicing it was revolutionary. A family that consciously chose to meet needs modestly and be selective about wants found they could save substantial amounts even on average incomes. They discovered that many wants, once examined, weren't really that important. What mattered was having the freedom to choose. Let yourself drift to the principle of investing in yourself, your education, your skills, and your health. Throughout history, the best investment anyone could make was in their own human capital. A young person who learned a valuable skill, who invested in education, who maintained their health, these investments paid returns for a lifetime. A carpenter who bought quality tools and took classes in new techniques could command higher wages. A worker who stayed healthy avoided medical expenses and could work longer. The principle was clear: you are your most valuable asset, and investing in yourself pays the highest returns. And finally, consider the principle of starting now. Whether you were 25 or 45 or even 65, the best time to begin saving and investing was always the present moment. A 40-year-old who felt they'd started too late and gave up would reach 65 with nothing, but a 40-year-old who started immediately, even with small amounts, would reach 65 with something substantial. Every day delayed was opportunity lost to compound interest, to habit formation, to building wealth. The journey of 1,000 miles begins with a single step, and financial security begins with a single dollar saved. Part 2. The psychology of money and human behavior. As we drift deeper into understanding, let us explore how humans actually behave with money, the psychology that shapes our financial lives. Close your eyes and breathe as we discover insights that have helped millions make better choices. The first insight researchers discovered was the concept of mental accounting. Identified by economist Richard Thaler in the 1980s, people treat money differently depending on where it comes from or what it's designated for. A worker might carefully budget their paycheck, but freely spend a tax refund or bonus, even though it's all the same money. Understanding this tendency allowed people to use it constructively. By mentally accounting their raise as savings money or their bonus as investment money, they could direct windfalls toward long-term goals rather than spending them impulsively. The realization was simple but powerful. We can shape our financial behavior by consciously choosing how we categorize our money. Now, let yourself drift to the concept of loss aversion, another profound psychological discovery. Studies showed that the pain of losing $100 is roughly twice as intense as the pleasure of gaining $100. This explained why people made poor financial decisions out of fear, holding on to losing investments too long or avoiding the stock market entirely after one bad experience. But understanding this bias freed people from its grip. A young investor who knew about loss aversion could recognize when fear was making decisions instead of logic, and could act rationally, even when emotions screamed otherwise. Let us breathe slowly and consider the power of default options, a principle that has quietly transformed millions of lives. When retirement savings became opt-out instead of opt-in, participation rates soared from around 60% to over 90% in many companies. People tend to stick with whatever is presented as the default choice. Understanding this allowed individuals to design their own defaults, automatically transferring money to savings, automatically increasing retirement contributions each year, automatically paying bills. By making the right choices automatic, people removed the need for constant willpower and discipline. As we continue peacefully, reflect on the concept of present bias, our tendency to overvalue immediate rewards and undervalue future benefits. A person might choose to spend $50 on dinner today rather than save it, even though those $50 invested could become several $100s by retirement. But once people understood this bias, they could counteract it. They could make their future selves more real and immediate by visualizing retirement, by calculating exactly what today's choices meant for tomorrow. A construction worker who vividly imagined his 70-year-old self found it easier to save because he was no longer saving for an abstract future. He was helping a real person, his future self. Let yourself rest on the idea of social proof and comparison. Humans are deeply influenced by what others around them do. In the 1950s and 60s, as more people began investing in stocks, their neighbors and friends felt more comfortable doing the same. This could work negatively. Keeping up with the Joneses led to destructive overspending. But it could also work positively. When communities embraced saving, when workplaces celebrated financial milestones, When friends supported each other's financial goals, success became contagious. Understanding this allowed people to consciously choose their financial peer group, surrounding themselves with others who shared their values about money. Now drift to the concept of scarcity mindset versus abundance mindset, ideas explored deeply in recent decades, but understood intuitively throughout history. A scarcity mindset saw the world as having limited resources. If someone else won, you lost. This led to hoarding, fear-based decisions, and missed opportunities. An abundance mindset recognized that wealth could be created, that cooperation often benefited everyone, that calculated risks could lead to growth. A small business owner with an abundance mindset might invest in employee training, confident that the investment would return manifold. The same owner with a scarcity mindset might hoard every penny and stifle growth. The mindset you chose shaped your financial reality. Let us breathe deeply and consider the power of specific written goals. Research consistently showed that people who wrote down specific financial goals, saved $10,000 for a down payment by December, were vastly more likely to achieve them than people with vague intentions like save more money. The act of writing made goals concrete and real. A worker who wrote down his or her goal to eliminate credit card debt within 18 months and posted it on their refrigerator found that every spending decision was measured against that visible commitment. Specificity transformed wishes into plans and plans into reality. Reflect on the concept of the hedonic treadmill, the discovery that people quickly adapt to improved circumstances and return to a baseline level of happiness. A person who got a 20% raise initially felt wonderful, but within months, their spending had increased and they felt no happier than before. Understanding this pattern freed people from endlessly chasing more. They could consciously step off the treadmill by not inflating their lifestyle with each raise, instead directing new income towards savings and investments. A couple who maintained their modest lifestyle even as income grew found they achieved financial independence decades earlier than their free-spending peers. Let's drift to the importance of financial identity and self-story. People who saw themselves as savers or investors made different choices than those who saw themselves as spenders or not good with money. These identities were often formed in childhood but could be consciously rewritten. A young adult who grew up in a family that struggled with money might have internalized the story, "My family was never good with money, so I'm not either." But recognizing this as just a story, not a truth, allowed them to write a new narrative. "I'm learning to be smart with money. I'm building financial security." This new identity then shaped behavior, creating a self-fulfilling prophecy of success rather than struggle. As you rest in these psychological insights, feel how understanding yourself, your biases, your tendencies, your mental patterns, gave you power over them. Personal finance was never just about numbers and budgets. It was always about human behavior, about working with your psychology rather than against it, about understanding why we do what we do so we can make choices that serve our deepest values and long-term well-being. Part 3: Common Mistakes and Hard-Won Wisdom. As we drift into our final chapters, let us explore the mistakes that countless people have made and the wisdom gained from those experiences. Breathe deeply and relax, knowing that every mistake taught valuable lessons that helped others avoid the same pitfalls. The first common mistake that emerged across generations was carrying high-interest debt, particularly credit card debt. In the 1980s and 90s, as credit cards became ubiquitous, millions of Americans found themselves trapped in cycles of debt, paying 18 or 20% interest while their savings earned 3 or 4%. The lesson learned was crystal clear. A dollar spent paying down high-interest debt provided a guaranteed return equal to that interest rate, better than almost any investment. A retail worker who aggressively paid off their credit cards at 20% interest was effectively earning a 20% return, guaranteed and tax-free. The wisdom became, eliminate high-interest debt before investing, because no investment could reliably beat those returns. Now, let yourself drift to the mistake of not having adequate insurance. Throughout history, families who seemed financially secure were devastated by events they hadn't insured against. A house fire, a serious illness, a breadwinner's death. The lesson was learned again and again. Hope for the best but prepare for the worst. A young family might skip life insurance to save a small amount each month, but if tragedy struck, that small savings could cost hundreds of thousands. The wisdom became clear. Proper insurance, health, life, disability, property, wasn't an expense but a foundation, the bedrock upon which financial security was built. Breathe slowly and consider the mistake of trying to time the market. For decades, studies showed that professional investors rarely beat the market through timing, and individual investors did even worse. The person who sold everything during a market dip, certain it would fall further, often missed the recovery. The person who waited for the perfect time to invest often never invested at all. The wisdom learned was simple and liberating. Time in the market beats timing the market. A factory worker who invested steadily through booms and busts, never trying to predict the future, accumulated more wealth than sophisticated investors who constantly traded, chasing perfect timing that never came. Continue peacefully, reflect on the mistake of neglecting retirement savings when young. The mathematics were unforgiving. A 25-year-old who saved just $200 monthly until 35, then stopped, would have more at retirement than someone who started at 35 and saved $200 monthly until 65, despite saving far less total money. The early bird captured the power of compound interest. Yet millions of young workers delayed, thinking they'd save more later. The wisdom learned, there is no substitute for starting early. Even tiny amounts in your 20s became substantial sums by retirement, while large amounts started late never quite caught up. Let yourself rest on the mistake of ignoring inflation. A retiree in the 1970s who thought their comfortable savings would last for life discovered that as prices doubled and tripled, their fixed income bought less and less each year. Money sitting in low-interest savings accounts actually lost value over time when inflation was factored in. The wisdom: your savings must grow faster than inflation, which typically meant investing at least some money in stocks or other growth assets. A fast food worker who kept all their money in savings accounts earning 1% while inflation ran at 3% was actually losing 2% of purchasing power each year. True security required growth that outpaced inflation. Now to the mistake of co-signing loans or mixing family and money carelessly. Throughout history, relationships were destroyed when money was lent and not repaid, or when one person co-signed a loan and ended up responsible for someone else's debt. The wisdom wasn't that you should never help family and friends, but that you should only lend what you could afford to lose and treat co-signing as if you were taking out the loan yourself, because legally you were. A generous brother who co-signed for his sister's car loan found his credit destroyed when she couldn't pay. The lesson: help from a place of clarity, not obligation, and understand the true risks involved. Breathe deeply and consider the mistake of lifestyle inflation, increasing spending whenever income increased. A young professional who received a $5,000 raise and immediately leased a nicer car, moved to a more expensive apartment, and upgraded everything found themselves no closer to financial goals despite the higher income. The wisdom: when income increases, increase saving first, lifestyle second, if at all. A couple who banked every raise, maintaining the lifestyle they'd had on their previous income, found they could retire in their early 50s, while peers who inflated their lifestyle worked into their 70s. As our journey continues, reflect on the mistake of not diversifying income sources. Workers who relied entirely on a single employer with no side income, no investments, no alternative skills, found themselves vulnerable. A factory worker whose plant closed, a bookkeeper whose industry automated, they struggled because they'd built their financial lives on a single pillar. The wisdom learned was to create multiple streams of income when possible. A part-time business, rental property, investments that paid dividends, skills that could be freelanced. Diversification wasn't just for investments, it was for income too. Let yourself drift to the mistake of financial secrecy and shame. Countless couples struggled because they didn't communicate honestly about money. One partner hid debt while the other hid spending. The lack of transparency created crises that could have been prevented. Similarly, individuals who felt shame about their financial situation avoided seeking help until problems became catastrophic. The wisdom: financial honesty, with partners, with family, and with oneself, was essential. A couple who held regular money dates to discuss finances openly found they worked as a team rather than at cross purposes. There was no shame in struggling. The shame was in suffering alone when help and support were available. And finally, consider the mistake of seeking get-rich-quick schemes. Every generation had its version. Land speculation in the 1800s, penny stocks in the 1900s, day trading in the 1990s, and cryptocurrency gambling in the 2020s. The pattern was always the same: promises of easy wealth, minimal risk, and quick returns. And the result was usually the same: losses, sometimes devastating. The wisdom: Real wealth is built slowly through patience, discipline, and time. A retail worker who invested steadily in index funds for 30 years became a millionaire. A doctor who chased hot tips and jumped from one scheme to another ended up with less. The tortoise always beat the hare, steady always beats spectacular. As you rest in this hard-won wisdom, feel the common thread through all these lessons. Security comes from patience, not rushing, from consistency, not perfection, from learning, not knowing everything at the start. Every mistake was an opportunity to learn, every setback a chance to adjust course. The path to financial wellness was never straight, but it was always forward. Part 4. Looking Forward, the Future of Personal Finance. As we approach the end of our journey, let us look toward the horizon and consider where personal finance is heading as we imagine the possibilities that await. The story of financial empowerment continues to unfold, and the future holds promise for even greater accessibility and understanding. The first priority is to start a trend again in financial education beginning in elementary schools. For most of history, young people learned about money in school and if their families taught them, creating cycles of financial literacy across generations. But now, more states and countries are not requiring personal finance education in elementary to high schools. A teenager graduating today might not understand compound interest, budgeting, and investing before entering the workforce. Knowledge those previous generations learned through painful trial and error. This democratization of financial knowledge promises to lift entire generations into greater security and prosperity. Let yourself drift to the evolution of artificial intelligence in personal finance. AI assistants are becoming more sophisticated, able to analyze your unique financial situation and provide customized guidance that once required expensive human advisors. A grocery store clerk could receive advice as personalized and intelligent as a millionaire gets from their wealth manager. These systems can predict upcoming expenses, identify savings opportunities, optimize investment strategies, and even negotiate bills on your behalf. The future promises financial advice that is simultaneously more accessible, more affordable, and more personalized than ever before. Let us consider the trend toward real-time financial information. For most of history, people had to wait for bank statements in the mail, for quarterly reports, for annual summaries. Now and increasingly in the future, every transaction is instant and visible. You can know your exact financial position at any moment. But more than that, systems can alert you in real time to potential problems, a suspicious charge, an upcoming overdraft, an opportunity to save. A delivery driver can receive an alert: you're on track to overdraft in 3 days based on scheduled bills. Would you like to transfer money from savings? This immediate awareness and guidance transforms money management from reactive to proactive. Reflect on the growing recognition of financial wellness as a component of overall well-being. Employers increasingly understand that financially stressed employees are less productive, less healthy, and less engaged. The future workplace will likely include comprehensive financial wellness programs as standard benefits. Not just retirement plans, but emergency savings accounts, student loan assistance, financial counseling, and education. A warehouse worker struggling with debt will have the same access to financial guidance as executives once did. This shift recognizes that helping employees achieve financial security benefits everyone. Let yourself rest on the trend toward portable benefits and the gig economy. Traditional employment models are changing, with more people working multiple jobs, freelancing, or moving between employers. The future must accommodate this flexibility with benefits that travel with the worker rather than being tied to a single employer. Retirement accounts, health insurance, and other benefits are evolving to be truly portable. A graphic designer working 3 part-time gigs will be able to build retirement security as easily as someone with a single traditional job. The future of work is flexible, and financial systems are adapting to support that flexibility. Let us consider the evolution of cryptocurrency and blockchain technology. While speculation has dominated headlines, the underlying technology promises interesting possibilities: faster international transfers at lower cost, financial services for the unbanked, transparent transactions, and new forms of ownership and investment. A domestic worker sending money to family in another country might soon pay pennies in fees instead of significant percentages. A small farmer in a developing nation might access credit and insurance through blockchain-based systems. The technology is still maturing, but its potential to expand financial access is real. And now, as we approach our final fact, consider the most important trend of all, the growing understanding that personal finance is personal. The future recognizes that there is no single path to financial wellness. What works for one person, aggressive saving, frugal living, early retirement, might not work for another whose values prioritize different experiences. The future of personal finance is increasingly customized, increasingly respectful of diverse goals and circumstances, increasingly focused on helping each individual define and achieve their own version of financial success. An artist prioritizing creative freedom over wealth accumulation, an entrepreneur taking calculated risks, a worker choosing stability and steady progress. All are valid paths, and the future offers tools and support for each. As you rest in these visions of the future, feel hope and possibility. The core purpose remains unchanged, giving people tools to build security, to pursue dreams, to craft lives of opportunity. Every innovation we've explored, from paying yourself first to modern apps, served this same beautiful purpose. And that purpose continues to drive innovation, to inspire solutions, to create a better financial world. The story of personal finance is ultimately a story of human progress and human compassion. Countless individuals throughout history working to create systems that helped rather than harmed, that lifted rather than exploited, that expanded opportunity rather than concentrated it. You are part of this ongoing story, inheriting the wisdom of millennia and contributing to a future where financial wellness is truly accessible to all. Rest peacefully, and know that the tools, knowledge, and opportunities available to you today represent the culmination of thousands of years of human innovation, all designed to help ordinary people build extraordinary lives. Closing. And so our journey together comes to a close. We've traveled from fundamental principles to the future of finance, from psychology of money to human behavior, from common mistakes and hard-won wisdom. We've explored some facts about personal finance, innovations, principles, psychology, mistakes, and future possibilities, all woven together into a single story, the story of humanity's ongoing effort to help ordinary people build financial security and opportunity. As you drift towards sleep, let these facts settle gently in your mind, each one a small piece of wisdom, together forming a complete picture. Remember that personal finance, at its heart, is simple. Spend less than you earn, save for the future, invest for growth, protect against catastrophe, and be patient. Everything else is detail and refinement of these core truths. Sleep now, peacefully, knowing that the tools and knowledge you need are available, that millions have walked this path before you, and that financial wellness is achievable, one small step at a time. Good night, and may your dreams be filled with peace, possibility, and hope for a secure financial future. Like this information? Please hit the like button and subscribe. Also, check out the other finance videos on this channel to help you achieve an abundance mindset. Thanks for your time.